is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Drivers, start your engines. Pull those belts down tight one more time, warm up those tires, hit your marks, and let's go racing, boys and girls. NASCAR, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here is your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson, with producer John Myers.
Indeed, the gang is all here. Halloween weekend.
Oh boy, it doesn't feel like it, but it is.
I don't know, the weather kind of feels like it.
Yeah.
We made it.
Where did the year go?
This was the year that made up for the fact that 2020 felt like it went by and took 5 years to go.
Ah, is that what it is?
Yes.
That is a fair and accurate statement.
Yeah, suddenly Father Time slammed the accelerator.
Mm-hmm.
Something they're going to have a hard time doing this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, welcome into the show. I'm Steve West. That's Matt Nicholson. That guy over there is the producer, John Myers. We are here on this Halloween weekend where, I don't know where you are, but in central Alabama, East Central Alabama to be specific, where our flagship station is located, it's dreary.
It has been dreary here in this part of East Alabama since about 1 p.m. yesterday, and it has not changed the least little bit.
Yeah,
I call it yucky.
Yeah. This would be a morning where, except for us being on the air,
To sleep in.
you'd be sleeping in. But we're happy that you joined us. We are the reason you get up and make coffee on a Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Brew me some.
There's a coffee maker in the back. Hey, welcome into the show. We appreciate it. Parts of the show being brought to you by our fine friends at Ox Foundation Solutions and Michael Hart. We need to go back to last weekend and recap what happened on the track so that you're kind of prepared for this weekend, because in the NASCAR terms, this is the ultimate cutoff race. So you got to be ready for that.
That it is.
Now, in race 1 of the Xfinity Series playoffs, John Hunter Nemechek jumped into a car. He upset the field, keeping playoff contenders from locking down a slot in the season finale. I'm talking about this particular round.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore locking down a slot in the title race in Phoenix. We go from Texas to Kansas. Same story, different driver. There's that kid again. The grandson of Joe Gibbs, Ty Gibbs.
Mm-hmm.
Part-time racer in Xfinity, full-time racer in ARCA, and he's already got 4 wins in Xfinity competition.
Mm-hmm.
Kept the field of contenders from locking themselves in again. Gibbs, the grandson, as we mentioned, is all of 19, and later on in the evening he would be crowned the ARCA Menard Series champion for 2021. But back in the Xfinity Series race, he got around defending Series champion Austin Cindric with 10 laps to go, got the win. A.J. Allmendinger ends up third, trailed by Justin Haley, Ryan Sieg, Brett Moffitt, Michael Annett, who's rounding out his career. He's retiring after Phoenix in a pretty decent way, another top 10 for him. Sam Mayer jumped up there. He got himself a top 10 along with Justin Allgaier and Matt Snyder. Now, considering nobody's locked in as far as wins, Austin Cindric leads in the points over A.J. Allmendinger, Justin Allgaier, and Daniel Hemrick. That leaves 4 in the hot seat, so to speak. Justin Haley, he's 7 points under that cutoff. Noah Gragson is 24 points down. That's where the pressure is.
That would, yeah.
That's pressure line right there, 24 points, because, as you notice, we've only given you 2 names. The other 2 names are Brandon Jones, who's 40 back, and Harrison Burton. They both need wins desperately because Harrison Burton is even worse, 51 points under the cutoff line. There's no way on points Harrison Burton can make it in. He has to get the win.
Yeah, it's one of those, for him, and I would even say Brandon Jones.
I would probably say, all things being equal, Noah Gragson's in that situation.
I was about to say Gregson as well. It's a bring the check or bring the steering wheel back kind of race.
That's about it. Checkers or wreckers. The only driver who I feel comfortable saying might and I use that term very carefully, might be able to points his way in would be Justin Haley.
Mm-hmm.
AJ Allmendinger's pretty good. Justin Allgaier's pretty good. Yeah, I'm not sure who would be it. I would think that of Cindric, Allmendinger, Allgaier, and Hemrick, it's going to have to be a situation where somebody else takes them out, not necessarily on purpose, for that to happen.
Yeah. I found a graphic that has the playoff standings down to the point.
Mm-hmm.
Allmendinger and Cindric are actually tied.
Oh, okay.
Cindric has a tiebreaker.
Ah, see, there you go.
They're both plus 47 to the good.
All but locked in,
Yeah.
truth be told. Sunday morning, I should say Sunday, not necessarily morning. Cup Series and Formula One began about the same time. We're going to go with the race that finished first, and that would be Formula One, who they were in Texas. At the start, Lewis Hamilton, great jump off of the lights, the starting lights. He grabs the lead from pole sitter Max Verstappen, but it was pit stops that told the tale. Both drivers were on a 2 pit stop strategy, and after that second pit stop, Hamilton on lap 37 was pitting after Verstappen. It did give him fresher tires for the final run, but the problem was he had to make up 9 seconds in order to do it, and only 19 laps to be able to do it.
And he almost did.
Almost did. I'm going to let Red Bull's team boss Christian Horner say how it went. He said, quote, "I really didn't think he was going to pull that off, you know. Lewis on 8-lap newer tires, the first set of hards that we pulled off were pretty much down to the canvas. I was thinking, wow, we're not going to have much left at the end there. Just enough. Final gap. This is NASCAR-like, not Formula One-like.
Right.
Final gap, 1.333 seconds. Verstappen wins, Hamilton second. Sergio Perez finishes third, Charles Leclerc fourth. Daniel Ricciardo, Valtteri Bottas, Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris, and the rookie Yuki Tsunoda, along with Sebastian Vettel, round out your top 10. With the win, Verstappen expands his lead over Hamilton in the points, 287.5. That thing bothers me. To 275.5. So 12 points separate the two. Still a good number of races to go.
Yep.
That's the battle for second. Battle for first, I should say. Battle for third. Hamilton holds on with 185. Not a bad lead over Sergio Perez, 150, but we have seen this change. Lando Norris is also in contention. He's got 149. We'll fall back a little bit further. There's a battle between Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. Leclerc 128 to 122.5 for Sainz. Ricciardo's in 8th with 105. He's kind of all by himself. Maybe, if he has a really good stretch run here, could start battling Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. I'm not sure yet. I haven't seen that. I've seen a whole lot of inconsistency out of Ricciardo.
Yeah.
Which is strange to say, considering how much of a championship contender he was just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it is crazy to say for sure.
Pierre Gasly's all by himself at 74 points in 9th, and Fernando Alonso's in 10th with 58. Constructors' Cup standings, Mercedes still holds on to the lead there, 23 points up on Red Bull, 460.5 to 437.5. Battle for second has McLaren up on Ferrari, 254 to 250.5. That's going to come down to the wire. Alpine's 5th with 104. AlphaTauri within striking distance there, 94. 62 for Aston Martin. Williams with 23. I did find it interesting. We didn't really, I'm not going to deal with this during the news, but it is interesting to mention this. George Russell for Williams, who's leaving Williams to go to Mercedes at the end of the year, he feels like that the reins are off now. There's no pressure. He honestly feels like, even without necessarily the help of his teammate Nicholas Latifi, that he might be able to close the gap some with Aston Martin. That's a tall ask. 62 to 23, that's a 39-point gap. Good luck. Hey, if you think you can do it, knock yourself out.
If he can single-handedly, and that's the term I'm going to use, single-handedly take Williams and pass Aston Martin's 2-car effort.
I mean, I'm gonna go out on this limb right here, and this is no disrespect to Max Verstappen, who's done a fantastic job.
Yeah.
I'm already willing to put George Russell as driver of the year in Formula One, because if you look at that 23 points, it's almost all George Russell. And this is a team that you got to remember has had trouble scoring even a point over the last 2-3 seasons.
I think he has scored probably 20 out of the 23,
I think at least that.
at least.
So
It's crazy.
For me, George Russell's almost the driver of the year in Formula One.
I couldn't argue with that.
Alfa Romeo holds 7, and then you got your big goose egg for Haas F1. We'll get back to that in the news later. Sunday was a meaningful and somewhat heavy-hearted day for one Hendrick Motorsports because it was exactly 17 years to the day that young Ricky Hendrick and others died when the plane that they were in crashed on an approach into Martinsville, Virginia. Ricky Hendrick was slated to race the number 5 that day. Because of the day, neither Rick nor Linda Hendrick made the trip to Kansas, but they texted the driver Kyle Larson. Larson, you might remember, is the current driver of the number 5, telling him how much they wanted him to be leading on lap 5 and how much winning that race would mean to them. Larson, driving a car that looked strikingly similar to the car that Ricky Hendrick tended to drive, delivered on both counts. He led on the 5th lap, going on and got the win. That's his 9th win on the year, so he could, with 2 races to go, get into double digits, which would put him in some interesting company. He got out of the car in his victory lap, stood on the window opening, pointed to the sky in honor of Ricky and the 9 others who died on that crash in 2004. One other way that the Hendrick Motorsports crews, and I use that term purposefully because all 4 teams did this, they honored Ricky, they turned their hats backwards on lap 5. Ricky always wore his hats to the track backwards. Chase Elliott was 2nd, so good day for Hendrick Motorsports, even though it was memorably not the best of days. Kevin Harvick 3rd, Kurt Busch 4th, Denny Hamlin 5th, rounding out the top 10, William Byron, Martin Truex Jr., Christopher Bell, Joey Logano, and Austin Dillon. Larson with 2 wins in this round, the only driver locked into the championship round. Chase Elliott in points is 2nd, Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch 3rd and 4th, the hot seat drivers, and that's an interesting term because really Ryan Blaney, yeah, he's under the cutoff line by a single point. In Martinsville, that could be changing on lap 1. Martin Truex Jr. is actually in pretty good position, too, for a driver who's under the cutoff line. He's 3 points down. Brad Keselowski is 6 points down, so this is going to be a battle royale. Joey Logano's on the hottest seat of them all, 26 points back. He all but needs a win in order to advance to the title race because, number 1, he's got to overcome a 26-point deficit, and number 2, he's got 3 drivers that are under the cutoff line in front of him. But
One of them that I would bet the farm on to win this weekend.
We might get back to that. I will say this. Joey Logano has wins at Martinsville.
He does.
It's not like he doesn't know how to get around this little paperclip.
True.
This weekend's racing slate, pretty busy, begins later today. Camping World Truck Series finally back in action. They're going to run the United Rentals 200 at Martinsville, airing on Fox Sports 1 and MRN Radio, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central Time. Later on tonight, it'll be Xfinity Series time. They're going to run the Dead On Tools 250. I don't make this up. I'm just telling you. Again, Martinsville airs on the NBC Sports Network and MRN Radio. Starts 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central Time. Sunday's action starts off with the Cup Series running the Xfinity 500 at Martinsville. NBC and MRN Radio got the coverage starting 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central Time. And the final racing action of the weekend is the NHRA's Camping World Drag Racing Series. They're going to be running the Dodge SRT Nationals presented by Pennzoil out at Las Vegas Motor Speedway on the Strip there. Finals air live on Fox Sports 1 beginning 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central Time. Yes, last weekend Formula One was here in the United States. They do go to Mexico City, but they're going to take the weekend off. Yeah, I know. Scheduling quirk. Usually, because after this, after Mexico City, they're going to go to Brazil. So there's no weekend off between Mexico City and Brazil. Usually the weekend off is between Mexico City and Brazil. This time it was between U.S. and Mexico City. The people at Formula One probably should invest, thank you, Ron White, in a globe.
Well, guys, girls,
Ladies and gentlemen.
gentlemen, you get to do what you love for a job.
Mm-hmm.
You get paid astronomical amounts of money to do what you love.
Especially if you're Lewis Hamilton or Max Verstappen. Good grief.
Why on this God's green earth that we live on do you complain about running back-to-back weekends?
when you think about this, and I don't know how many miles it is from COTA or Austin to Mexico City,
Not very far.
but if you think about it, NASCAR went from Kansas to Martinsville this weekend, and from Martinsville this weekend out to Phoenix. I'm pretty certain that the trek from Martinsville to Phoenix this week is longer than the trek from COTA to Mexico City. That's a guess, but I'm going to go out on that limb and say that.
I'm going to, let's just see here. Thanks to a very good app, what's that is?
Okay.
And you can obviously clearly tell which planes leaving Austin, Texas are the cargo jets carrying the F1
Yes.
stuff from COTA to
Yeah.
Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez.
It's not like they're taking 18-wheelers across the border going south.
It is exactly 1 hour and 56-minute flight on a 747.
Whereas to get from, and we'll use the closest really large major hub city to Martinsville, which would be Charlotte.
Yeah.
Charlotte to Phoenix is probably the better part of a, 4-hour flight?
Well, let's just see here.
Maybe a little longer?
Let's see here.
And that's just by flying.
Let's see.
We're not talking about driving it.
Charlotte code CLT.
Yes.
Phoenix is PHX. Let's see here. That is going to be
4.5?
3 hours and
3 hours.
47 minutes.
Okay, so I was right earlier, 4 hours.
Right at 4 hours, yep.
And again, you're talking, for all intents and purposes, East Coast to just shy of the West Coast.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
2,500-mile trip?
Not far from it. Let's just see for fun here. Mexico City to, isn't it Rio? Let's just say Mexico to Rio de Janeiro.
Okay. That's actually Sao Paulo.
No, Sao Paulo.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Sao Paulo.
Exactly. Let's see. S-A-O. Here we go.
Ain't this fun? Again, this is us going, we could probably schedule this in some ways a lot better than they can.
That is actually from Mexico City to Sao Paulo. It's actually an 8 hour and 54-minute flight.
Wow.
I rest my case.
Hello.
So F1 needs a globe, NASCAR needs a map.
Yeah. Or they could hire
True.
us. But we've said that before when it comes to other situations. I'm just going to leave it alone. When we come back, we've got Cup Series news to get to. Plenty of that. Breaking news from yesterday in the Xfinity Series. Hey, gamers, if you're into NASCAR, be ready. We've got news on the latest NASCAR game. All that and a whole lot more. We're just underway right here on CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
All right, let's kick off the news here with the Cup Series because we want to report on 3 former Cup Series drivers. They took to the classic and legendary Bowman Gray Stadium because they were testing the next-gen racers for Goodyear because Goodyear needs some form of preparation for the 2022 season opener. This is where that Busch Clash goes to the Los Angeles Coliseum for a made-up track, like they couldn't find a short track somewhere like Bowman Gray Stadium to actually do it in real life.
On the globe.
Yeah, but anyways, they wanted to test out the new car on a short track like that. They didn't give any current driver a leg up. That's why they put the next-gen racers out there with 3 retired Cup Series drivers. The 3 drivers, Clint Boyer, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and the 3-time Cup Series champion Tony Stewart, smoked turn laps first for Goodyear in the morning. Boyer and Earnhardt doing hot laps not only for Goodyear but NASCAR R&D in the afternoon. Dale Jr. summed it up by saying, quote, "This car does everything better than anything I ever drove in NASCAR." It's an interesting statement.
That's a big statement.
He continued, "I was skeptical, but I think it's going to work really well. I thought the track would be too small for our cars. They just wouldn't handle and drive well, but this is a totally different beast." I saw some highlights of this, and they really did seem to be able to turn some pretty good laps.
I watched it pretty close on social media. Some video clips they would release, and it was interesting to watch, to say the least.
Yeah.
But without giving any driver a leg up. But technically, if you think for 1 second that Dale Earnhardt Jr. is not going to go back to Hendrick Motorsports and say, "Hey, boys, this is what it's doing here. This is what it's doing there," and you let, of all people, one of your top Ford team owners test the car. Yeah.
There was some notes being taken, at least on the mental side of things. There's no doubt.
But did you see who was crew chiefing?
No, I didn't.
Larry Mack.
And
he had the Texaco button-up shirt on.
Not very nice. Clint Boyer said of the car, quote, "Very impressed with the grip level, the braking power, and the tire that Goodyear chose for this. This was the first time on track at Bowman Gray Stadium for those two. Smoke had seen on-track racing up close at Bowman Gray back in 2009. He wasn't behind the wheel. He was helping Bobby Hutchins run a modified that year. So what did Smoke think after he turned laps? He took time to look at all sides of it. He said, quote, "Goodyear has a good plan coming into today. I think they're pretty happy with the results that they got. I think what they brought with the control set is probably a little harder than what they need. They brought a softer tire. They were pretty happy with it. I think that probably a combination of what they'll be bringing out west." And Stewart admitted he did spin the car twice in the north turn, but he was able to keep the car off the wall, no damage to the car, and kept it going. So he was pressing it to the limit.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to see what the times were.
Yeah, it would be. I didn't see any, but it'd be interesting to see.
It
no
would
doubt.
Let's go back to Kansas. 3 cars were found to have loose lug nuts, the worst violator being Christopher Bell's number 20 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota. He was missing at least 2, and we all know what that means. Crew chief Adam Stevens owes NASCAR $20,000 and gets to sit out this weekend in an impromptu vacation, so he misses Martinsville. The other 2, number 14 Stewart Haas Entry Racing of Chase Briscoe, the number 22 Team Penske rider Joey Logano, each had 1 loose lug nut each. That prompts only a fine for crew chiefs Johnny Klausmeyer and Paul Wolf, respectively.
Okay, so realistically, what do these the infraction, of course, is the lug nut. What do these penalties amount to, really?
To our resident driver.
Nothing. Honestly, nothing. Because most of the time, the team will just pay the fine. It doesn't come out of the crew chief's pocket. It doesn't amount to nothing in my opinion.
Okay, so you got, in this case, for this year, we're still running 5 lug nuts on each. Let's say it's only 2. Is that vastly noticeable to the driver?
2 lug nuts on the wheel? Or two loose
loose out of 20. We don't even know whether they were on the same wheel or not.
Honestly, it really depends. Depends on how you have them patterned and where it's loose at, honestly.
You probably notice it more if they were two on the same wheel.
Oh, yeah. They would be very noticeable.
Unless they were off spaced.
It's possible.
You got a star pattern. If you got 3 on each point, you're good.
Dude, you get a loose lug nut next year?
You're in trouble.
Because they're running that single center hub.
Big trouble.
Let's go to Stewart Haas Racing, who on the good news front have signed a new sponsor for 2022 for Kevin Harvick's number 4 car, Gear Wrench. If it sounds familiar, it's because you have seen and or heard of them on Kurt Busch's car for the soon-to-be defunct Chip Ganassi Racing. The company becomes also not only a sponsor for Kevin Harvick's number 4 car, but the official toolmaker for Stewart Haas Racing. They'll be a primary sponsor of the number 4 car for 5 races in 2022, but wait, there's more. They will be an associate sponsor on the 4 car for the remainder of the year. And oh yeah, there's this. They got the naming rights to the main assembly area at Stewart Haas Racing's garage, a 140,000-foot area, which will now be called Gear Wrench Garage.
Not a bad deal, but I'll say this. The more and more and more and more that I keep seeing these new renderings, we're going to call them renderings,
Yeah.
of the new number
Saw the
placement
paint
on
scheme for
Cup
this.
cars, it makes me nauseous.
I can't get
Makes
used
me
to
nauseous.
it. I can't get used to it. Shoving that number up front right behind the front wheel well, I can't get used to it.
It makes me nauseous, guys.
The paint scheme for the 4 car when he unveiled it, was it Wednesday or Thursday?
Thursday.
Thursday. When they unveiled it Thursday, it was otherwise a really good looking paint scheme.
Oh yeah, the scheme and the color scheme is great.
But because we're so used to where the number usually is, right there smack dab in the middle of the door, or what would be the door. No disrespect to Gear Wrench or to any of the other sponsors that Kevin Harvick has that will be on the car. And if you're watching on YouTube on video, which is linked to Facebook pages, you can see the paint scheme we're talking about. Matt has it holding up to the camera. No disrespect to Gear Wrench, no disrespect to Ford, no disrespect to, again, any of the other sponsors Kevin Harvick has that are on the car at that time. My eye is immediately drawn to the horrible placement of the number 4.
It's it's terrible. It's very, 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 very terrible.
It looks like it's shoved into the wheel.
Pretty much. Pretty much. This is, I don't know if I'm ever going to get used to it.
It reminds me of the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Is-
That's like a recurring theme here in 2021 on the show.
Carry on. Well, be nice.
I'm going to try not to be a wayward son. To Kyle Busch, who is about to try something new. Nitro Rallycross Racing. I got to admit, I haven't really heard of Nitro Rallycross. I've heard of Rallycross, but not Nitro Rallycross.
It's the same stuff that Travis Pastrana does.
There you go. The 2-time Cup Series title winner, who's in contention for a 3rd title this year, accepted an offer to compete in round 3 of that series in what they are terming the supercar class. This will mark his first true off-road racing event. It'll happen after the NASCAR season wraps up, but he won't have to go far to do it because both races will happen in and around Phoenix, Arizona. The Nitro Rallycross racing event will actually happen at Wild Horse Pass Race Facility. That's where the NHRA races. They'll finally return there again next spring. And then a couple of kind of off-track things dealing with Cup Series situations. Former Cup Series driver turned NBC Sports NASCAR commentator Kyle Petty is set to add author to his resume. He's planning on working up and releasing his memoirs to be entitled Swerve or Die, Life at My Speed in the First Family of NASCAR. It's slated for release on a day that I know pretty well, August 9th, 2022. Happy birthday to me. It is available for pre-order now. It will be co-written by Pulitzer Prize-winning author Ellis Hennigan. In the book, Petty promises many never-before-seen photos from the family's personal collection and adds a, quote, real insider's account of exactly how stock car racing got to be so controversial and how its southern-bred worldview is shaking up American life yet again, unquote. I didn't write the review. I just gave it to you. Depending on if he can deliver. The pictures, I have no doubt he can deliver on.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
Kyle Petty's a pretty outspoken guy, so he could probably deliver on a whole lot. It just depends on exactly how Ellis Hennigan, who will be the guy who actually ends up taking all of these memories and stories that Kyle Petty does and put them into word form to where you can read them. I'll be interested to see how much of that actually does translate into the book. It might actually be a very fascinating book, truth be told.
I think, yeah, I agree with that. It's going to be, yeah, fascinating.
I mean,
To get that firsthand, deep look into the life of being a Petty.
Yeah, because, his grandfather, obviously, then his father. And I imagine there's probably going to be quite a bit of time spent on Adam. And
I would bet the farm on that one.
my question about how he's going to handle the situation with Adam is whether he does it heavy-handed or with kid gloves.
I could see that, yeah.
I'm
That's a good
just
point.
not sure how he's going to do it because,
Sure.
I mean, it's an extremely highly emotional situation. There's no doubt about it. I cannot imagine the situation that Kyle was in when he got the news about Adam. I can't even put myself in that. I can't imagine putting myself in that position.
This one you don't want to be in.
I'll grant you that. So with the kind of emotions that he's got to have, even still now, 2+ decades later, you're picking at a scab, which is probably still very, very raw, and will be more than likely for the rest of Kyle Petty's life, a very, very raw wound.
Extremely.
I will be interested to find out how he handles that particular bit of storytelling.
Yeah, it'll be. I don't buy books. I'm not a reader. I'll admit that.
This one might be one to pick up.
This might be one I'm going to pick up.
Yep. You are a gamer.
That I am. That's why I'm a little sleepy today.
I understand. He's addicted. Will you be getting this? Motorsports Games has now officially released the game NASCAR 21 Ignition. Became available actually for play yesterday for Sony's PlayStation 4 and 5 platforms, the Microsoft Xbox One, and for PC systems as well. Games will come with a free upgrade path for PlayStation 5 and Xbox One players. It comes in both Standard and Champions editions. Champion Edition will cost you more. Champions Edition also gives you extra content. Some of the extra content offered to the players in that Champions Edition, exclusive ability to unlock Hall of Famer Bill Elliott as a playable driver with all appropriate paint schemes. You will get an in-game career boost. Not really sure exactly what that'll entail. More in a season pass that'll also give the player additional paint schemes and 3 other NASCAR legend drivers, not detailed, that you can play. There's also, as one would expect, a career mode for the player to be able to move up to championship level on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Matt cannot choose the number 10 because it's already taken.
Yeah, it is.
Sorry.
There's an opportunity. I want to throw something in here. I just caught via Twitter.
Please do.
Well, we don't touch on this series much, but Euro NASCAR
Not a whole lot.
is running. It just finished up their race in Vallelunga, Italy.
It's easy for you to say.
Yeah. A driver has taken his first stock car win
Yes.
after receiving let me get to it here, back to it. After receiving a 5-second penalty for being out of position at the start. For jumping the start.
Jumping the start.
He finished 6.3 seconds ahead of second place on track, but it's officially a 1.3 second win.
Wow.
That winner would be Jacques Villeneuve.
Interesting. Okay, then.
His first official NASCAR win.
He tried a few years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was trying again, truth be told. Well, hey, congratulations to him. I hope he does well.
It's just weird to see him
I know.
finally breaking through with the parachute driving suit that he always wears, standing on top of the car.
Sure.
But hey,
Again,
you got it, though.
congratulations.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's a launching point for you, and you finally figured out how to race stock cars.
Yeah.
The other thing that you need to finally figure out is whether or not your house has problems. Now, if your house has any kind of age on it at all, or quite frankly, if it was just built, you really want to have some peace of mind about that house. And I'm talking about its foundation. Because whether or not you've been in the house for a very, very long time, or whether you just moved into a brand new house, this was a huge investment at the time that you bought it. Again, I don't care whether it was 20, 25, 30, 40 years ago that you bought the house or whether you just bought it this past week. This was a significant investment when you bought it. And you don't want it to just fall apart. But the truth of the matter is, if you got a foundation problem, it could just do that. This is where our good friend Michael Hart at Ox Foundation Solutions comes in, because you call him, 205-362-6419, or you email him and set up an appointment at mike@oxfoundations.com. He'll come out, he'll go through everything inside and out of your house, and he'll write everything up, and he'll make copies of it. So he's got it for his records, you've got it for yours. And what you have is a no cost, no obligation written assessment of your foundation. If there's no problem, you got it on paper, and you've got peace of mind. But if you have a problem, you now know exactly what it is, and you also know how much it's going to cost to get it fixed. But then you get to throw this little bit,
But wait, there's more.
indeed, or actually less, out of your pocket. 15% off if you mention the promo code WEST. It's that simple. You mentioned that you heard it right here on the Championship Racing Network. Promo code WEST, 15% off whatever the estimate was. Just like that. Why wouldn't you do it? Again, no cost and no obligation. 205-362-6419 or Mike at oxfoundations.com. Don't forget that promo code WEST. Tell him you heard about it right here on CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. Fuel only, fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
More information on Jacques Villeneuve claiming the win over in the Euro NASCAR series. It's been a drought.
It would be a 13-year drought. First win since 2008 in the 1,000 kilometers of Spa when he was in the LMP1 Peugeot 908. That's
So
a
there.
mouthful.
Yeah, it is. Let's just say that that's a stock car that you're probably not going to see in NASCAR in the United States anytime soon.
No.
To the Xfinity Series, hey, yeah, Dale Earnhardt Jr. retired from full-time racing a couple of years ago, but you probably have noted he does keep his hands busy in the NASCAR world. He's a NASCAR commentator for NBC Sports. He's got the Dale Jr. download, which sometimes gets aired on NBC Sports, which I wonder what's going to happen to all that when the NBC Sports network dies. He's also got that Lost Speedways, which I'm still trying to get him to do BIR.
I think it's going to Peacock.
Okay. And he still runs one race in the Xfinity Series each and every year for his very own Junior Motorsports.
Mm-hmm.
For 2022, he's already announced what race that's going to be. April 8th, the Spring Martinsville race.
Not surprised by that one.
Not at all.
Get your tickets now.
Yeah, that won't be a problem.
Yeah, that won't be a problem. It'd probably be close to a sellout.
I would imagine. The primary sponsor is Unilever Brands. They have re-upped with his team. This is the 14th year that Unilever and Junior Motorsports have partnered up. On April the 8th, Dale Earnhardt Jr., it's easy for me to say, will pilot the number 88 Hellman's Fridge Hunters Chevy Camaro at the paperclip-shaped track. In addition, fans get to vote on the final paint scheme for that number 88. If you go online right now to Hellman's, Hellmans, Hellmans.jrmracing, jrmracing.com, Hellmans.jrmracing.com. You'll see the three options. You choose which one you like the best. Some pretty interesting looks. This is also a pretty good week for Ryan Sieg and his RSS racing operation. First, they announced they've signed an extension with their partner, CMR Construction and Roofing. They will continue as the full-time sponsor of the number 39, which marks the third year of that partnership. In addition, the number 39 happens to be one of the very few Xfinity Series Ford Mustangs. As such...
that you could literally count on one hand.
Yeah. Less than. As such, the team has actually announced they have a new technical alliance with Stewart-Haas Racing.
That was pretty smart.
Should help bolster that team as they plan to become a multi-car operation in the year 2022 with hopes to be full-time multi-car operation 2023. The additional cars plans will be announced soon.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to get driver, number, sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
But you got a pretty good start. Stewart-Haas Racing Technical Alliance and Roush Yates Engines.
Yeah, I would say it's probably going to be number 38, like he had a couple years ago before they put it in mothballs. Why I don't know they did.
It's almost guaranteed a money situation.
Well, he ran it
Of
a
some sort.
full season.
Of some sort. It was a money situation.
Yeah. What all they need again? Driver, what?
Driver, sponsor, car number. You've got the car. You got a Ford Mustang. You've got the engines from Roush Yates.
All
You're
that,
missing,
not necessarily in that order.
That's true. And we've got a driver.
I'm sure if
Just
we
noted.
took the driver and we say, here's our sponsors, now here's the driver, boom, done.
We got a driver. Just saying.
I don't know where the shop is, too.
So it wouldn't be that hard to get there. There's one other bit of Xfinity Series news
Yes,
that happened
it
to pop
is.
out yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, it came out, it was probably about 10:45, 11 o'clock yesterday morning. Richard Childress Racing is now going back to a two-car effort in Xfinity Series. The driver is not going to be Myatt Snyder. The driver is going to be one Austin Hill. So Childress is now going to be pulling up not one but two Camping World Truck Series drivers to run the Xfinity cars. It was released yesterday. This is a press release from Richard Childress Racing. They announced that Austin Hill will join the NASCAR Xfinity Series organization in 2022. Hill will compete for RCR's Xfinity program on a full-time basis beginning at Daytona. The number and sponsors are yet to be determined, but if I had to guess, it's probably going to be number 21.
Okay.
I don't think he would put the 3-car back out there for Austin. I think it'll be 21 and
two.
2 is going to be Creed.
Oh, okay.
Creed's going to drive the 2.
Yeah.
If I would bet the farm, that's the phrase of the day, that United Rentals is probably coming with him.
Probably. We had wondered what the situation was when Hill announced that he was leaving Hattori Racing Enterprises at the end of this year. Now we have our answer. We kind of guessed that he was probably working on a deal to move up. We just didn't know where. This is a pretty soft landing spot. Just be real honest. Camping World Truck Series information. The next test for the next generation Cup Series stock car. Yeah, I'm still talking about Camping World Truck Series. Set to happen at Wythe Raceway. It's a dirt track. They're going to try and prep for next season's Bristol Dirt Weekend, but the person who will be behind the wheel, kind of like the test at Bowman Gray Stadium that we talked about last segment, has no current Cup Series drivers in there for the testing so that they can't get any good new information that might have them get a leg up on the other Cup Series participants. So the driver that's going to do the testing at Wythe Raceway is going to be Camping World Truck Series driver Stuart Friesen. Trust me, his cell phone will be ringing off the hook.
For the love of humanity, Spire, if you don't put Friesen back in the 77 car, you need to revoke your charter.
The date of the test has yet to be scheduled, but I would imagine probably, if not right after the holidays, just before the holidays.
If you don't, Spire, if you don't, Marty Gaunt, you better be melting down Friesen's cell phone.
Oh, gosh. He's not going to be the only one. I mean, think about it. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be calling him up and going, hey, listen, man, is there anything that you can tell us?
Well, when it comes time to run Bristol Dirt Race, I mean, I think he finished like 15th or 16th maybe. But he gave Spire arguably their strongest run of the year.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, absolutely.
You would be dumb to not put Stuart Friesen in your car for the race.
Yeah. I mean, if you got the open seat, which we know Spire does.
77 car, yeah. Watch Matt Cawley say, hey, Stuart, you want to try my second car? Watch Matt Cawley do it. He would do it.
Now, I want to go back to the motorsport game that released officially yesterday.
Yeah.
All the 2021 tracks, like COTA, Bristol on dirt, they're all in there. So they got all of that stuff up to date and right. So even you could drive it, technically. And I'm using Matt as the you, but obviously you, the listener. But again, I don't know how much you get out of a video game.
You would get more out of iRacing than you would the video game.
I could see that.
You get a lot more out of it.
But at the same point in time, again, if you think Tony Stewart isn't telling Greg Zipadelli and everybody over at Stewart Haas Racing what he experienced with that next-gen car at Bowman Gray, sorry, you're wrong. Same with Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's talking to Rick Hendrick and telling him as much information as he possibly can. Clint Boyer probably is not being all that terribly shy about what he knows, depending on who it is that asks.
I would safely say that at some point there's probably going to be an impromptu meeting called between Rodney Childers, Johnny Klossmeyer, Mike Booger-Ravage, and Mike Shiplet.
Sure.
Boys, here's what you got.
Yep.
Here's what it does. Here's what you need to do to remedy one problem or the other.
Yep. And believe me, Stewart Haas Racing is looking for that because they want a bit of a rebound year. The only driver who's really made any kind of hay this year, no disrespect to Eric Almirola, is Kevin Harvick. Eric Almirola had one day in the sun.
True.
And, Chase Briscoe, he's in his rookie year. He's still dealing with a bit of a learning curve. As for Cole Custer, he came out, pardon the expression, but like a bat out of hell with his tail on fire in his rookie year. Cooled off pretty significantly this past year in year two. So he's looking for a rebound year. And for all those people who are complaining, and believe me, I've seen it, that are going, well, he went out and he started an NHRA team, he needs to fix his NASCAR team. You don't think that he knows that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like Tony Stewart's just ignoring that NASCAR team that's sitting over there.
No.
And he's going off and doing his own thing. Believe me, he wants the NASCAR team to do well. He wants the NHRA team to do well. He wants his dirt track teams to do well. He wants his dirt tracks that he owns to do well. He wants the dirt series that he owns or has a significant ownership stake in to do well. He's not doing any of this stuff to just let it sit over in a corner and rot.
Yeah.
Which is why I can guarantee you, Tony Stewart made mental notes. And those mental notes may have made their way onto paper, but I guarantee you they've already been talked about somewhat to Greg Zipadelli who is handing out that information. And in the off season, he will probably be spending a fair decent amount of time at the Stewart Haas Racing shop over in North Carolina. And as they gear up for the actual on-track debut of the 4, the 10, the 14, and the 41, he's going to be very vocal. And again, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to be the exact same way on the campus at Hendrick Motorsports.
Yeah.
It's the way it is.
Yeah.
It's just, these are things that we can guarantee. And again, that brings us back to this situation. Stuart Friesen in a next-gen car on a dirt track. To the best of my knowledge, there may be something in the works that NASCAR is working on that they haven't said. But to the best of my knowledge, this is the one test of the next-gen car on dirt before they stick it on dirt in competition. Believe me, anybody who thinks that they know Stuart Friesen in any way, shape, or form and can get a hold of his number will be contacting him after the test is over. It's just the way it is.
But actually, it seems to me that somebody, don't know who, but some people in the upper offices are getting a little, keyword some,
Sure.
are getting a little bit smarter because Wythe Raceway is probably going to be your closest in comparison to having characteristics of what Bristol has on dirt. It's going to be your closest.
Now, dirt makeup's a little different.
It's
Isn't it?
not it's
Not
not
terribly?
far.
Okay.
No, I've not driven Wythe Raceway, but I've seen it live. It's not far in composition of the dirt compound. The only thing I would say this is the vast difference is the straightaway lengths.
Okay.
That track has some fairly decent sized straightaways.
Gotcha. All right.
The straightaways remind me, to give you a comparison of it, the straightaways remind me of Martinsville.
Okay.
The lengthwise, the corners has the banking, maybe just a hair wider in circumference of Martinsville, but with the banking.
So it's almost a Martinsville-Bristol hybrid.
Very accurate assumption. That's what my comparison is.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That's what's supposed to be when they redo finally Auto Club Speedway out in Southern California. That's kind of what they're looking for with a little bit of Richmond thrown in.
Very close.
Just throwing it out there.
Very close.
Let's head over to the NHRA. They're about to come into some very historic stuff. We're going to get into that after the break. I do want to talk about a little bit of the news here. For example, Josh Hart, he's the owner of his own Josh Hart Racing organization. He's announced that his crew chief, Ron Douglas, has now also become a partner in owning that team. Hart is a two-time national event winner and a front-runner for the NHRA Rookie of the Year. He made the announcement on Thursday. Douglas, as a partner, is also set to continue as the crew chief for the Top Fuel operation, at least going into 2022. I mean, he's a rookie in Top Fuel. He's got 2 wins. You're going to have a hard time beating that. And good grief, I'd want him as my owner just to keep him within the organization.
No doubt.
And then our prayers go out to Jim Head Racing. They lost a crew member and a family member. Last Sunday morning, Dylan Cromwell, a crew member on their funny car since 2018, passed away after suffering fatal injuries in a crash near Plainfield, Indiana. According to Indianapolis TV station WISH-TV, it happened about 9:30 a.m. on Interstate 70. Cromwell behind the wheel of the driver because he actually also drives the team's hauler. He was heading out to take the car out west for this weekend's event in Las Vegas. He was westbound, going through a construction zone, when an eastbound 18-wheeler lost control, jackknifed, crashed through the construction barrier that separated the east and westbound side, and collided head-on with the team hauler. Passing away. Again, Dylan Cromwell. Our thoughts and prayers go out to Cromwell's family and friends and the Jim Head Racing organization. Dylan Cromwell was only 23 years old. I hate to hear that. I really do. Again, our thoughts and our prayers go out to him. Let's go ahead and take a break a little bit early. This weekend, the NHRA commemorating a milestone. It's a very similar milestone to what Formula One passed by earlier on this year. If you remember, last year, 2020, was Formula One's 70th anniversary of being in the racing business. earlier this year at a race that was going to be China turned out to be in the backyard of Ferrari in Italy, their 1,000th race. Well, guess what? The NHRA is hitting that milestone this weekend in Las Vegas. When we go back from this break, we'll give you a little bit of some of the things that they're doing to commemorate race event number 1,000 for the National Hot Rod Association, specifically dealing with the Camping World Drag Racing Series. And they did a lot of searching for one thing in particular. We'll tell you all about that when we come back. Hour one's in the books. Hour two's next, right here on CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. Four tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back into the show. Hour number 2 getting underway, and we're talking about the NHRA, the National Hot Rod Association. Been around for a while. They're commemorating event number 1,000 this weekend as they are out in Las Vegas. Now, how are they doing this? This is very Las Vegas. They're working up a limited number of special edition poker chips. 3,000 are going to be produced in all. They will feature the event's official logo, the date, and the venue on both sides. All the competitors that are running this weekend are going to get one. The rest will be sold to the fans via their Nitro Mall, which is online. It'll cost you $5 each. After 3,000 of them, that's it. Doesn't matter how big the demand is. 3,000 is all. No more will be made, no matter how quickly they sell out. In other words, the counting shall be to 3,000. It shall not stop at 2,999 except to get to 3,000, and it shall not go to 3,001. Thank you, Monty Python. As for those 1,000 races, the NHRA has done a deep dive into the numbers. They have noted this. In 1,000 races, they have produced a grand total of 2,684 winners. Remember, there are several divisions within the NHRA. They have every letter in the alphabet covered when it comes to winners. Last names range from Abbott to Zinda, Z-Y-N-D-A. And in the first names, they range from Aaron to Zach. The most common last name for winners, Smith, followed by Johnson. It's pretty similar if you were to, kids, ask your grandparents about these. If you were to look up a phone book, pretty common names. But in a quirk, you actually have 2 wins by Jim Hughes. One Jim Hughes and then a separate other Jim Hughes. The decade of 2010 to 2019 showed the most events in any given decade, 258. The most events in any given year, 27, was done 4 times. Events that have been held, things like 48 different tracks. The most visited track, Indianapolis, most specifically for the U.S. Nationals. The most dominant car maker, if you didn't already know this, Matt, what would you have said would be the most dominant car make?
Blind reaction, it would have been a toss-up in between Dodge and Chevrolet. Would have probably
Mostly because of the Hemi engine, right?
Yeah, I would have leaned towards Chevrolet.
Yeah, it is Chevrolet. Most dominant model, Camaro. And then there's this bit of information. They did a hard target search and found the actual entry list from the very first NHRA sanctioned event. Shows just over 210 entries from all across the United States, most of them in the Plain States, which would make sense. But looking at the names, several drivers from California trekked to Great Bend, Kansas, for what would turn out to be the very beginning of a long run. Again, 1,000 events this weekend. From the East Coast, more than one driver hauled to Kansas from Massachusetts. Among a couple of the names, if you are familiar with motorsports in general and the NHRA in particular, you probably recognize Mickey Thompson, Larry Shinoda. Yep. Then there's the winner. He's a California native, Calvin Rice. Now you know who won the very first NHRA sanctioned event.
Now you do.
Who?
Calvin Rice. Now you know.
I wonder if that's Jerry's granddad.
Probably not. Since Jerry was a Mississippi kid.
That was being a funny.
I like the connection, though. It's a good try. It's a very good try. Over to the IndyCar series. Let's go back to Monday. Monday, there were 5 drivers that were running IndyCar racers in a test session in our own backyard at Barber Motorsports Park. Oh, to have been a fly on the wall of this one. One of them was Formula One driver Nico Hülkenberg, and I use the term, no disrespect to Nico, kind of loosely because he doesn't have a full-time ride for 2022. He's a primary reserve driver this year and last year. So what did he think after being in IndyCar for a very first time? Well, let's let you know this. He ran the number 7 for Aero McLaren Racing SP. He said this, quote, "First time in an IndyCar, first time at Barber Motorsports Park. Overall, I think it was a good and successful day. I definitely can confirm that these, I like this term, steering monsters are very physical cars, and it took a while in the morning to feel comfortable. But in the afternoon, the lap times and the performance started to come in, and it was great fun. Big thanks to Aero McLaren SP for this opportunity today and their professional work on track." Steering monster. We know.
Oh, you funny German Jew.
Yes, we know for a fact that Romain Grosjean's comment the first time he ever got behind the wheel of an IndyCar car was, "This doesn't have any power steering." Guess who also said that? Oh, that's right, Jimmy Johnson. They noted these cars were, you had to muscle up. Let's put it that way. Again, no power steering in these cars. But the learning curve for Jimmy Johnson has obviously been huge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But the funny thing is you think about it, a guy who's an Australian V8 supercars driver by trade, Scott McLaughlin, wins Rookie of the Year. I wouldn't say going away, because Romain Grosjean, without the benefit of running the ovals from earlier in the year,
was charging.
He was charging hard.
Very hard.
And almost claimed that Rookie of the Year. And he said, and he's not the only one to have said this, Fernando Alonso has said this as well, that the learning curve from Formula One into IndyCar is not as big as some people might think.
I could see that. I could seriously see that.
So, I look at Nico Hülkenberg, and I know he wants to get a Formula One ride back. I get it. But there are only 20 of those seats available. And I'll be real honest with you, I don't see him getting one of those seats.
And every single team has at least a 2-driver backlog.
Exactly. I don't see him getting one of those seats, number one. Number two, he's 34 years old. And there are very few drivers at 34 years old that are going to get a chance after 2 years of not being in a primary seat.
True.
If Nico thinks that he can competitively handle an IndyCar car, he might want to go ahead and start letting some people know now. Because this, to me, is the best chance for him
No doubt.
to showcase his talents.
If and this is absolutely of zero disrespect to Romain Grosjean.
Okay.
Haas. Haas.
Yes.
Rick Ware with Dale Coyne.
Yeah.
See where I'm going here?
I do.
You took a
And then the fact that you used Rick Ware in there is actually...
you took a Rick Ware car,
Yeah.
a Rick Ware back car, even though it was prepared by Dale Coyne. You took a Rick Ware prepared car, Rick Ware backed car,
And you
and
dang near
arguably
snuck away with Rookie of the Year.
and yeah, that, but arguably consistently stayed in the top 10 every time you sat in the seat.
Yeah, pretty much.
So if Nico Hulkenberg cannot see that Romain Grosjean is proof, he's blind.
Yeah. Agreed.
He's trying to wait on finding that needle in the massive haystack known as F1.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I can pretty much tell him with almost 110% certainty there's not going to be an F1 seat that's going to open for you, Nico. If you want to race full time, your best opportunity at a high level is IndyCar.
Yeah, and then Nico, the tires are twice as wide as what you're dealing with, so that naturally that's going to make the car harder to steer.
Yeah.
Wider tires, harder to steer. Remember that.
But handles well. He even said so. The other drivers that were on hand on Monday, Ryan Hunter-Ray, who happened to be testing Ed Carpenter's number 20. And there were 3 Indy Lights drivers that were on hand. There were Kyle Kirkwood and Devlin DeFrancesco. They were running for Andretti Autosport. Driving for Dale Coyne Racing in their number 18 was David Malukas. Who? Yeah, David Malukas. Malukas is also an Indy Lights driver. We'll talk about him just a little bit more in just a little bit. McLaren CEO Zach Brown confirmed on Monday that the test that they plan to field not 1, not 2, but 3 full-time cars beginning quote-unquote at some point in 2023, and adding that the car might actually end up getting some track time in the upcoming 2022 season.
Do we see where he's going here?
I kind of see where he's going.
Yeah, considering you just had an F1 driver test your car at Barber. Now you're talking about 3 cars. We're not dumb, Zach Brown.
Nope. He did stop short of saying when this car might or would debut, and he stayed very far away from announcing who the driver would be, or for that matter, really any other details about the car. He said he's planning on giving another former Formula One and actually a current Formula E driver a chance to test an IndyCar as well. He said soon, not exactly sure when, he plans to put Stoffel Van Dorn in an IndyCar test. No disrespect to Stoffel Van Dorn. I would probably put my eggs in the Nico Hulkenberg basket before I'd go Van Dorn.
Hog.
And so would John. So would John.
Yeah.
It seemed like last weekend we were talking almost nothing but Andretti Autosport. Guess what? We're going to do it some more. Andretti Autosport still trying to figure out who's going to drive 2 of their 5 cars for 2022. Now, they've signed Romain Grosjean. Nice signing, by the way. They're keeping Colton Herta and Alexander Rossi. It's a pretty good base. It's the other 2 seats that haven't been determined. We talked about the test at Barber, Kyle Kirkwood, Devlin DeFrancesco driving for them. But they aren't done testing. And in fact, the 3rd place Indy Lights points finisher Linus Lundqvist, who's a Swedish native, who won the season opener and also the season finale, he's going to get a chance to test Herta's number 26 when they do a rookie test at Indianapolis coming up here fairly soon. So yeah, they're pretty far away from figuring out who's going to be the final 2 drivers in the Andretti Autosport stable come 2022. Kyle Kirkwood was back testing for Andretti. The pair splitting time in the number 26 back on Monday. Then there's that kid again, David Malukas. This is the guy who finished 2nd place in points in Indy Lights for the 2022 season. But he switched from the Dale Coyne Racing ride that he drove at Barber. He will go to Team Penske's number 3 when they go testing at Indy.
Pretty big switch there. pretty big switch.
Hey, David, no pressure.
You think?
Meantime, over at Carlin Racing, they've had a pretty rough go of things in their short time running in IndyCar, and that's an understatement. In order to attempt to shore up their efforts within IndyCar, they have actually begun talks about potentially collaborating with Juncos Hollinger Racing. Now, Juncos Racing, just within the past, month to 6 weeks, has become Juncos Hollinger Racing. So this is a brand new collaboration on their part, and now all of a sudden Carlin Racing's talking about coming in. Juncos Hollinger is set to field the number 77 for the rookie Callum Elott, former Formula One feeder series driver, full-time next year. You notice where we're going with this? A lot of drivers that either have been in F1 or wanted to be in F1 are now switching to IndyCar. Why? Again, more opportunities.
Yeah. You got that backlog of drivers.
No kidding. Carlin Racing, meantime, fielded the number 59, but they split the driving duties in 2021 between Max Chilton and Connor Daly, and they were apparently trying to figure out whether or not they would be compatible enough to be able to pool their resources with Juncos Hollinger for 2022. Ricardo Juncos has admitted he does want a two-car team, and while Carlin will like to continue past 5 years in IndyCar, Racer.com reports that this could also end up being an outright sale, which would effectively give Juncos Hollinger Racing that second car immediately.
Right.
I don't know whether I'm willing to go that far if I'm Juncos Hollinger.
No.
You want to make sure that that first car is solid, and you've got a rookie.
Yeah, I mean, because think about it on this scale. How many times have we heard third engine maker coming into IndyCar? Quite a bit.
Still in talks.
Still in talks. Okay. Who is one of Ferrari's top prospects right now? I'm pretty sure that's Callum Elott.
Yeah. When Haas F1, you might remember this, was trying to figure out who it was that they were going to put in the car for this 2021 season, they pretty much zeroed in on Mick Schumacher right off the bat.
That was a no-brainer.
Top-level Ferrari development driver. And he was locked into Haas F1 if he didn't get the seat at Alfa Romeo. Once Kimi Räikkönen said, hey, I'm coming back for one more year, that locked it in. Here goes Mick Schumacher to Haas F1. That second car was a battle between who they put in the car, Nikita Mazepin, and Callum Elott.
Which probably Gunther Steiner's going, why did we not put Callum Elott in the car? But, hey, that's
I can tell you
story.
why.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Nikita Mazepin brought daddy's money, which didn't hurt.
Yeah, his billions of dollars in checkbooks. So this could be a potential, keyword potential, segue for Ferrari into IndyCar.
Yeah, I mean, they keep saying, no, we're not going to do it. No, we're not going to do it. To me, they're over there, yeah, we're not going to do it. Psst, yeah, we are. No, we're not going to do it. Yeah, we're probably going to. No, we're really not. Well, we might.
If you've got Callum Elott going into your car and you're losing your top prospect, yeah.
Yeah, and if you think about it, this new engine setup that IndyCar's about to introduce, which we're going to talk about in a moment, I can guarantee you's got Ferrari's interest. As it should have Ford's and Nissan's, maybe Mazda.
Yeah.
Toyota, a couple others. Saying. But first, with Simon Pagenaud leaving the organization for 2022 as we go back to Team Penske, they said that they're planning to go into next season not as a 4-car operation, but they're going to shelve the number 22 that Pagenaud ran, and they're going to become a 3-car operation for 2022. The 3 drivers that they're going to employ, 2-time IndyCar Series champion Joseph Newgarden, 2014 Indy 500 winner Will Power, and oh yeah, there's that kid again, 2021 Rookie of the Year Scott McLaughlin. Even without a 4th car, this is a stout lineup.
Oh, yeah.
Roger Penske said also, by the way, real quick, he has no plans at this time to field a 4th car for the Indy 500. At this time, I'm thinking that's going to change. I really am.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it will. Considering that there's a pretty prominent Chevrolet driver that has expressed interest in doing the double. I think his name is Kyle Larson. I could see, considering that Roger Penske is a Chevrolet IndyCar team, I could see Chevrolet driver Kyle Larson doing the double in that fourth Penske car.
How much would Rick Hendrick stand in the way of that?
Well, considering that he basically,
and I'm just asking.
Here's a term I'm gonna use here. He basically unclipped the leash off of the collar and said, "Go get it." And he's sponsoring all of Larson's dirt efforts with HendrickCars.com. I don't think he would back it up too bad or argue with it too bad, but it would be weird to see a HendrickCars.com Team Penske Chevrolet car at the Indy 500.
It would be a very intriguing collaboration if it were to happen. And I'm hoping it does. I'd love to see it.
It would be great, but it would be poetic justice if Chip Ganassi said, "Hey, come on, drive your car."
My gosh, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
And then let's go back to the situation we were talking about when it comes to the engines here. We're probably going to spend a little time on this as well. IndyCar officials saying that they're almost ready to begin testing the new engine package that will debut on track in 2023. Sometime in early 2022, they're going to put this engine out on the track. The series will move up. They're running 2.2-liter V6 engines right now with a single turbo. Beginning in 2023 full-time, it'll be a 2.4-liter V6 engine with a twin turbo setup and a hybrid component. These cars are running, what, 600 to 700 horses now, I think?
Approximately.
Formula One's running 1,000 horsepower.
I think the twin turbos are going to push IndyCar to
850 to 900
ish,
and the hybrid component on top of it. Again, kind of going back to that whole situation where maybe Ferrari might want to think about coming in. Yeah, we are. No, we're not. Yeah, we are. No, we're not. No, we're not. Yeah, we are. Maybe. Possibly. IndyCar president Jay Fry said, quote, "The end of the first quarter next year is when we expect our OEM partners, original equipment manufacturers, Chevrolet and Honda specifically, to get out and start testing with the new engines. We're still working with Chevrolet," who's, by the way, working with Ilmor on this as well, "and Honda on the exact specifics, but we're close on having the testing guidelines agreed upon and put in place." This is, again, we keep talking about this. This has been the connection here pretty much for the entire year. And it's not just because of Romain Grosjean, but obviously he's very high profile when it comes to that. Maybe the highest profile driver from Formula One to come over, save for the possible exception of Alexander Rossi. But you got to remember, Rossi drove for a backmarker team that Haas F1 bought out. For all intents and purposes. I'm talking about the Marussia team. And then he comes over to IndyCar, and so far, yes, he's won an Indy 500. He won it in his rookie year, but what have you done for me lately?
Nothing.
Not that much. He's competitive to a certain extent, but just hasn't quite held up to that promise. Romain Grosjean's out there, and he's doing every single bit in 1 year what Alexander Rossi has done over the last 3, maybe 4 years. But then you add this package in. Again, we just talked about it. F1 racers are approaching and in some case topping 1,000 horsepower. 2.4-liter V6 hybrid component with twin turbos. Every single bit, 850 to 900 horsepower. Every single bit of it. This is Chevrolet working with Ilmor. This is Honda. Again, we're talking about other manufacturers coming in. Highly linked is Ferrari, who could be easily looking at this and going, hey, this might be, what do I want to call it? Kind of a test mule, if you will, for what could be the new engine package or similarities to the new engine package that Formula One will bring in, correct me if I'm wrong, 2025 season?
Yes, 2025.
the connections between Formula One and IndyCar continue to grow at an almost exponential rate. I mean, it's almost like doubling that quick. It seems like every time we turn around, there's even more connections that put IndyCar and Formula One together.
Yeah, it puts them in definite closer ties.
Oh, yeah.
In comparison, that's probably why you're seeing so much crossover now. More
sure.
crossover than ever.
I would agree. Absolutely.
I mean,
When we come back, we're going to make the switch to Formula One ourselves, and we're going to talk about, because they were in the United States of America last weekend at the Circuit of the Americas, we're going to talk about Haas F1, because Gene Haas finally kind of opened up the book on what he thinks about his team and the United States' role within Formula One. We'll take a much deeper dive and closer look at that when we come back right here on CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. Tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Before we get back out onto the track, I want to talk about building things, because we're about to talk about Gene Haas attempting to rebuild Haas F1. Now, if you're trying to build a house, or if you bought a house and you're looking at it and going, man, this is going to be a project, because you bought it as a project, you wanted to fix it up and make it yours. One of the first things that you need to make sure that you have in perfect condition is the foundation. Because quite frankly, it doesn't matter how nice the house is, if the foundation is bad, the house ain't going to be nice for long. So check the foundation. Just have it checked. We've got the perfect company and the perfect guy to do it. I'm talking about Ox Foundation Solutions, and I'm talking about Michael Hart. You call him up, 205-362-6419, or set up the appointment by email, mike@oxfoundations.com. He'll come out, and he'll take a look at no cost and at no obligation to you. He'll take a look. And if there's no problem, he'll write down, there's no problem. He'll hand you a copy. He'll keep a copy for his records. You'll shake hands. You'll go your separate ways. It's that easy. But if there is a problem, you need to know about it, because you're going to want and need to get it fixed. Again, that number, 205-362-6419, or the email, mike@oxfoundations.com. He'll come out, again, at no cost to you and at no obligation. He'll give you a written assessment of your foundation. And if there is something wrong, he'll put it in detail, and he'll give you the estimate of how much it'll cost to fix. And then you say, hey, I heard about it on Championship Racing Network, CRN. I'm going to use the promo code WEST. 15% off of that total. Right then. What do you got to lose? Nothing. find out, make sure that house is on good, solid foundation. Mike, Ox Foundation Solutions, 205-362-6419, or Mike at oxfoundations.com. Mention the promo code WEST, get you 15% off, and tell him you heard about it right here on CRN.
Do it.
Do it. What you got to lose? Your house.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so last weekend, Formula One was in Coda.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good weekend. We'll detail how good of a weekend it was for Formula One in a bit.
Yeah.
But ever since, nobody had a problem with the signing of Mick Schumacher.
No.
I don't know why you would, because listen to the last name, Schumacher. And he was the defending F2 Series champion. But a lot of people complained when they signed Nikita Mazepin. And we talked about this a little bit last segment. There was part of a reason why. Nikita Mazepin was good, is good. He's a good driver. I mean, he competed well. He was competing for the Formula 2 F2 Series title the same year that Mick Schumacher won it. Mm-hmm. But he also did something that, quite frankly, Callum Elott couldn't. Daddy got money.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
Russian Oil Consortium.
Yeah.
Big money. So with that, hence here comes the new Haas F1 with the new red, white, and blue. Not necessarily American-based colors, more Russian flag colors. And then that kind of got everybody complaining and up in arms. Oh my gosh. So for those who are still complaining that the American-based Haas F1 does not have an American driver racing for them, especially in the wake of what has been, by his own admission, a throwaway year, you might think this has Gene Haas discouraged. No. Actually, Gene Haas is very much encouraged. Seems that Gene Haas's business, and you've seen it if you are a NASCAR fan, is Haas Automation. You've seen it on the side, mostly of Cole Custer's car, the 41. Mm-hmm. Haas Automation Solutions, since he joined Formula One, has been booming even more because he got exposed on an international scale.
Yep.
And his international side of the business has exploded. So, while he admits he and his team are not investing in the current 2021 car because they knew that all the new regulations were coming in 2022, Gene Haas honestly believes 2022 is going to be a big rebound season, and he's got Gunther Steiner, the team boss at Haas F1, believing as well that they could easily compete once again for the midfield points range. We'll see.
Oh, we're not going to go for the top. We're just going to shoot for midfield.
Well, you got to remember, they still don't really know what they've got, and they've only got drivers who are going to be in their second year.
Yeah, true point.
There's a lot of unprovens here.
A lot of confidence from the team owner there, Chief.
And what have they done lately?
Zero.
Nada.
But anyway, back to not having an American-based driver. Instead, German Mick Schumacher, Russian Nikita Mazepin. Why them, not a U.S.-based driver? This is the question that frustrates Gene Haas, and he finally really kind of came open last weekend at Circuit of the Americas. He said this, quote, "It's probably a very sensitive and frustrating point for me. Everybody says, well, you should have an American driver. I've made this point and people don't like it when I do. Maybe you'll get it now that Gene Haas says it. Gene said, quote, but the thing I don't understand is why there isn't more big-time sponsorship for an American driver."
Yeah.
I'm gonna let that hang there for a moment. I'll repeat it for you real quick. Gene Haas, Formula One team owner, said, quote, the thing I don't understand is why there isn't more big-time sponsorship for an American driver. Think about that. Gene then continues, quote, it takes millions and millions of dollars. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
For a throwaway year, Haas F1 is spending approximately $135 million per car. Mm-hmm. Remember, this is the last for lack of a better term, non-salary capped year in Formula One, where Red Bull, Mercedes, and probably Ferrari are each dishing out $250 million, $250 million per car. Next year, we get capped $145 million. They can't spend any more than that. You can spend less, but you can't spend more. Hopefully to level the playing field. But it's still millions and millions of dollars to put one car on the track for the year. Haas continued, quote, "They need a benefactor to help an American driver race in Formula One. For all the talk about it, there's no one that's ever stepped up to do that." But beyond that, what does he say about 2022? He lightened up. He said, "The good thing is that because it's a whole brand new format, nobody can really copy anybody else. All 10 teams are going to have 10 unique cars. We'll see who lucks out." Gunther Steiner says that they are just in the point now where they have gone through several wind tunnel tests, and they're doing little itty-bitty tweaks, and they continue to gain on it. So there's confidence over in Haas F1. But for those of you, again, who want an American-based driver, where's the backing?
All right. I just got creative here.
Oh, here we go.
Since we got a little bit of time,
Sure.
I got creative.
Yeah, okay.
I just found a link for all of the 2021 based F1 team sponsors.
Okay, go for it.
Mercedes. You have Petronas,
Yes.
UBS, Epson, Bose, Tommy Hilfiger, IWC, Hewlett Packard, Marriott Bonvoy, Monster Energy, Pure Storage,
Wow.
CrowdStrike,
And you thought NASCAR had a lot.
Tibco, Puma. I don't know what police is. It just says police.
Not the police you're thinking.
OMP, OZ Racing, Endless,
This is still just Mercedes.
Stylo, Seedlip, Ferrari. Pirelli, excuse me. Why did I say Ferrari? I was reading the next line.
Sure.
Okay. For Ferrari, Philip Morris International.
Which
So-
they can't really put specific branding on there.
So Marlboro is still sinking into Ferrari.
Oh, yeah.
Shell, Ray-Ban, Kaspersky, UPS, Weichai, Hublot, Molly, OMR, Puma, 8Cap, N4, SKF, Morelli, NGK, Brembo, Experis, Rydell, Iveco, OZ Racing, Saybelt, Bell, Palantir. I butchered that name, I know. Alfa Romeo.
List. The shopping list, if you will, of Mercedes and Ferrari sponsors. And then go to Haas.
I will say this, and before I say that, Williams has more sponsors than Haas.
Why am I not shocked?
For Haas, Haas Automation,
Okay. That's Gene Haas's company.
Jack and Jones.
Okay. They've been there for a couple of years now.
That is a clothing company in Great Britain.
Yes.
Peak, Blue Def, that is off of the Peak brand.
These are two companies that also help sponsor Stuart Haas Racing. So there's that connection.
Stitched, Alpine Stars, another Stuart Haas tie-in.
And that's also uniform maker, correct?
Yep. Richard Mille, Nominet Cyber, Mind Maze, and Pirelli.
Not to mention the main one, Ural Cali, which is Nikita Mazepin's dad's company.
Okay, would you believe? All right, let's say this: out of Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren, Renault, AlphaTauri,
Renault is
Alfa Rome-
Alpine, by the way.
Alfa Romeo, Renault, Alpine,
Yeah.
Alfa Romeo, Racing Point, Haas, and Williams. Who has the most sponsors?
That's an interesting question. Because Racing Point became Aston Martin, and Lawrence Stroll has some pretty good connections, so I could go there. I could think Alpine, which is partially owned by the French government. I might be willing to go Alpine.
You're incorrect.
Okay.
That is going to be McLaren.
Ooh. Okay.
British American Tobacco, Dell, Husky Chocolate, Estrella Gallica,
Whatever that is.
yeah, Automation Anywhere, Richard Mille, Hilton, Coca-Cola,
Well, we know where they stay wherever they stop. Hilton.
Unilever, FX Pro, CNBC, OnePlus, MindMaze, Clips Audio, Sparco, Volvo Trucks, Seekins, Enkai, Vive, Mazak, Morelli, Technogym, Stratasys, Koust, Hookit, FAI Aviation Group, and Pirelli.
Wow. So, Gene Haas is dead on. The openings for an American-based company to come in and help the American-based race team are there.
Yeah.
If you want to complain and want to know why there's not an American-based driver, find the backing. Money talks in F1. It has to, because it costs that much. Find the backing. Find the company that's willing to do the backing, and then let's go figure out whether or not we can put an American-based driver into Formula One.
I want to read Red Bull before we go to break because this
Real
one's
quick.
going to make people fly out of their chair. Because there's one really big, large company on the Red Bull sponsorship roster,
Other than Red Bull?
other than Red Bull in the United States.
Oh, okay.
Roche, Honda, Mobile One Esso, that's Mobile One Europe,
Mobile One, yeah.
Aston Martin, Puma.
Yeah, it is Aston. It is interesting that Aston Martin's there. This might be the 2020 rundown.
No, it's 21.
Is it? Okay.
Tag Heuer,
Yeah.
Citrix, Futuro Coin, Piquadro, Siemens, AT&T,
Haha.
Hewlett Packard,
Mm-hmm.
IBM,
Ooh.
Dita, W66.com, Hexagon, DMG Mori, PWR, Snowflake, I don't know what that is,
I could make comments, but I'm going to pull.
ANSYS, Saybelt, Oz, KX Technology, and Walmart.
Huh. Interesting to note, ain't it?
Very.
So again, Gene Haas. But the thing I don't understand is why there isn't more big-time sponsorship for an American driver. When we come back, as to the U.S. sports audience, how much did they accept Formula One? We got some numbers that'll back up the fact that Formula One is gaining some pretty sincere popularity here in the United States. That's when we come back right here on CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. fuel only, fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
We continue with the process here of Formula One in the United States of America. I'm Steve West. That is Matt Nicholson. Producer John Myers here. Last segment of this weekend's Championship Racing Network edition. Happy Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
As to whether or not the U.S. sports audience will accept Formula One and the United States Grand Prix. As far as last weekend is concerned, numbers at the gate and on television seem to show that we as a collective, I'm talking about the sports fandom in the United States of America, either are or have already accepted it. Note this. Unlike NASCAR, unlike Indycar, Formula One doesn't note specific ticket sales. So in other words, you might have held a ticket for all 3 days. You're not counted as one person. You came in on Friday, that's 1. You came in on Saturday, that's 2. You came in on Sunday, that's 3.
That's interesting.
They note the number of times that the turnstiles at Circuit of the Americas turned. Circuit of the Americas U.S. Grand Prix 2021 is the most attended race in Formula One history.
And that's a lot of races.
Stating, 1,000 of them, plus, stating that the turnstiles at Circuit of the Americas turned Friday, Saturday, and Sunday 400,000 plus times. And you said that a person that you work with
Yeah, a person that I know
went to the race last weekend?
went to the F1 race on Sunday. Their words, not mine. It was absolutely insane to see the size of the crowd, and if there was not 220,000 there on Sunday, they would be surprised.
Talladega, from grandstands and the infield, can fit in approximately 250,000 people. Think of that level. U.S. Grand Prix is on the level of what Talladega does. Are we accepting a Formula One? Seems that way. For those who didn't get to go, the race aired on ABC. It's one of the few races that ABC gets out of this package deal that ABC ESPN has with Sky Sports for F1 coverage here in the U.S. But the full telecast averaged 1.2 million people watching for the entire broadcast. That makes it second only to the 2007 U.S. Grand Prix in Indianapolis for U.S.-based F1 races in all time. That event drew 1.4 million people for the entire event. And remember, that was a freaking disaster.
Yeah.
Last weekend was the highest rated race that the networks have had since they regained U.S. television rights back in 2018. If you go back further than 2007, this is the third highest rated race of all the races that ABC ESPN has had since 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And since 1994, it's the fourth highest rated race of all their races. The highest rated race of the 2021 season, besting the prior highest rated, which was the French, and then the British Grand Prix. And compared to the 2019 United States Grand Prix, remember they didn't run in 2020 due to COVID-19. Ratings from 2019 to the race last weekend jumped 42%.
Crazy.
We seem to be willing to accept.
That is crazy.
So what about the soon-to-be second U.S.-based race in Miami? Well, turns out that FIA race director Michael Massey took some time to visit the Miami International Autodrome that is being worked up in the parking lot of Hard Rock Stadium. That's the home of the NFL's Miami Dolphins. And considering what they can actually do, since the NFL season is still underway, Massey was impressed. Massey is from Europe, so understand this when I say it this way. Quote, "It's a proper circuit. It's far from a race in a car park." It's European speak for parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Far from it, considering that the work is going on there in a number of areas. The facility is coming along really, really well, and it will be something unique. Massey noted that the stadium is obviously currently in use, but that the work that's being done now is impressive and feels that it will be ready well in advance of the race next May. Well, it better be.
Along with Atlanta Motor Speedway's reconfiguration and paving project, I've been keeping an eye on this one too.
Mm-hmm.
They're making some hay.
They are.
Serious hay.
That indeed they are. And then there's this. We've been talking about this over about the past, I don't know, month, 6 weeks, give or take. It's really heated up over the past month. And we're talking about potentially a second U.S.-owned race team. For those who haven't been listening, it's Michael Andretti, who is interested in expanding out his Andretti Autosport and getting into Formula One. He talked initially with Williams, and he talked with Haas F1. Both spurned his advances about getting into ownership. So what did he do? He turned to Sauber. Now remember, Sauber has the title sponsorship with Alfa Romeo. So it's the Alfa Romeo team, but it's still the Sauber operation. The two sides have been talking for about a month now. But according to Racer.com, those talks have actually fallen apart. Not just stalled.
Yeah.
Fallen apart. First clue that there might have been some trouble for this potential deal is when they said that there was no announcement. We talked about this on last weekend's show. No announcement was going to be made in Austin, Texas in advance of last weekend's U.S. Grand Prix, which is what Michael Andretti was hoping for. Because think about it, that would have been a huge splash. In the couple of days in advance of the United States Grand Prix to announce that he is now the second American-based owner of a Formula One team would have been huge. So word came out that the planned meeting to continue the negotiations in Texas had been called off. Racer.com reported this week, talks are done. And any hope of a deal is over, at least at this time, with the thought that the talks might have been able to pick it back up in Mexico City. Yeah, that fell apart as well. Now, does this mean that the deal is dead? Well, according to the site, again, this is Racer.com saying it, all but dead. They state that it would take a major turn of events to bring these two sides back to the table. It's not to say that they won't. What it tells me, somewhere down the line, either the Sauber folks are way overestimating the value of their franchise, and I use the term franchise used loosely, or Michael Andretti severely underestimated what it was going to take to buy in.
I'm going to say the latter. Here's why. Adam Stern, this guy, Joe Soward, he's been posting a lot of his F1 blog stuff lately. So if Adam Stern's posting it, this guy's legit.
Yeah, I would say so.
This was based off of what he knew of the talks that were going on. Okay, let me pick it up right here. All right, it would obviously help, and this is from him. It would obviously help if there were a U.S. driver in F1, and for a period of days in Austin, it looked like there was a real possibility of Indycar driver Colton Herta taking part in the FP1 session in Kimi Räikkönen's car.
That was the hope.
There were rumors that Herta had been seen in Switzerland having a seat fitting, and a lot of folk believed that a deal would be announced during the weekend in Austin. And this is from the F1 blogger. I was always skeptical, but I do believe that there is sufficient money behind Andretti for a deal to be done if the price is right. The problem is that the price appears to have rather gone too wrong for things to go ahead as negotiations went on to lower the price. The current owner of Alfa Romeo grew bored with the process and decided that he was actually quite likes owning an F1 team and would not sell. At least not yet. Okay.
Now, last week we talked, or in the past couple of weeks, I should say, we talked about kind of a separate company other than Andretti Autosport, and I think it was called Andretti Acquisitions.
Yep.
And they said that they had raised about $250 million, about $250 million, about what it costs for Mercedes to put Lewis Hamilton's car on the track. If that's what it costs to put Lewis Hamilton's car on the track for 1 year, do you honestly believe that's going to be the sale price? And I get it. Don't get me wrong. Alfa Romeo / Sauber is 9th out of 10 teams in the current Constructors' Cup standings. They've scored a grand total of 7 points.
Mm-hmm.
Not exactly burning things up over there. But at the same point in time, I don't value the price of my organization. Play devil's advocate. Sorry, Michael Andretti. I don't value the base of my organization at the cost of what it would take for one top-level car to hit the track.
Yeah.
I just don't. I wonder where the number is because, again, pretty much everything is for sale. Mm-hmm. Okay? I mean, if you offer me enough money, my car, I'll sell it to you. I think Matt would say the same thing. I think John would say the same thing. If you bring the right number to the table, we'll sell.
And it doesn't have to be a very high number either. Have you seen my car?
So, for the Sauber Racing Operation Group, so I think it's Longbow Financial,
I think so, yeah.
there's a number. I don't know what the number is. Neither does Matt, neither does John.
Nope.
And in fact, probably the only people that really truly know the number are people within the walls of Longbow Financial, and maybe Michael Andretti's getting a hint of it. Because it appears Michael Andretti really doesn't know the number. Because he doesn't appear to be anywhere close to it.
No.
What I think Michael Andretti ought to do is he needs to call Gene Haas. And he needs to find out. And you got to remember what Gene Haas bought in the old, now defunct, Marussia-based operation was very, very bare bones. He bought a defunct team for all intents and purposes, number one. And number two, he bought a shell of a building. Everything else, Gene Haas built from the ground up. He really ought to talk to Gene and say, hey, Gene, listen, I'm still interested in getting into ownership. I get it. You don't want to sell. But I'd like to get back into the table with Sauber. Give me a ballpark. Talk to me. How much did it cost for you to buy the remnants of Marussia and build it into what you built it into, not in 2021, but let's say, 2018, when you were a fifth-place team battling for fourth in Constructors' Cup points. How much did it cost to get you to there?
And don't forget about the pretty immaculate building he built next door to SHR in Kannapolis that has a really large Haas F1 team logo on it.
Yes, it does. We were there, and if I'm remembering correctly, it might be in the CRNradio.us archives.
It's probably in the archives, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
But I think that number you all are looking for ends with a B as in boy.
I'm
Minimum.
thinking it's going to be in that area.
If not tens of Bs.
I'm thinking it's going
A
to
whole
be in
swarm.
that area.
Probably to buy it outright without buying majority stake, I'm going to say it's going to take at least... I'm in agreement with John. I'm going to say it's going to take at least $2 billion.
And think about this for a couple of minutes. To put it in U.S.-based sporting terms. The most valuable sports franchise in the United States of America is in the NFL. It's the Dallas Cowboys. Lately, they were rated at about $5.5 billion in worth. New England's up there. The New York Yankees are up there. The Washington football team is up there.
Redskins.
We're talking about $3 to $5 billion in value. And then you get major, what we call soccer, what they call football teams, Manchester United, things like them.
Yep.
That are worth in the area of $4 to $5 billion. And there's more than one. I'm specifically thinking of Dr. Helmut Marko, who owns Red Bull, who honestly believes that before too long, Formula One operations will find themselves within the top 20, if not top 10, of most valued franchises in all of sports. So Michael Andretti, whatever number you got, you probably don't need to put a plus mark there. You probably need to put a multiplication mark beside it if you really want to get into F1 ownership. Good luck. I want to see you do it, but you're going to have to outlay some serious cash to do it.
Yeah.
Happy Halloween to everybody. For those of you that are celebrating going out and about tonight, be very careful. Watch out for the traffic. For those of you that are going to be in traffic, watch out for the people, the kids. Have a whole lot of fun. Be very safe in doing it. We'll talk to you again next week as we begin November.
I'm headed to Jordan here.
Enjoy the games. If your team is playing, good luck to them. Hope they win. We'll talk to you again next week right here on the Championship Racing Network.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.